Good morning. Welcome back to the Light on Suitability podcast. I'm your host, Elizabeth Comeau, with my wonderful co-host, Joseph Haytas, who wrote a book, 36 Strategies of Suitability. We are ripping right along. Had a little hiccup in February, but that's okay. Strategy 29, Remorse. It's a hell of a thing, killing a man. You take away everything he's got and everything he's ever gonna have. Clint Eastwood playing a role in The Unforgiven. Not sure I know that movie. You a big Clint Eastwood fan, Joe?
Oh, I enjoy Clint Eastwood movies very much. His early ones as well as his more recent ones. You know, he's
Really?
excellent
Wow.
filmmaker. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I did not know that about you.
Yeah, back in the 80s, I loved the Dirty Harry movies. They were great.
Oh my God. Okay. I don't think I've ever seen a Dirty Harry movie.
Oh, you got to. You know, whatever. There's Dirty Harry, Magnum Force, The Enforcer. Well, not The Enforcer. That wasn't a Dirty Harry film, but it was still similar to that. And there was also Sudden Impact. That's a great film.
Sudden Impact, huh?
Yeah. Magnum Force.
Magnum. So you like all those kinds of movies. Okay. Not Bridges of Madison County.
Oh, yeah. Well, that was later on, but that's still good.
It's still good. It's not quite Dirty Harry.
Well, no, but you know, he's a great filmmaker, I think. Besides, you know, being a good actor, great actor, excellent. Well, a really good actor.
Out of Africa.
I don't know if Clint Eastwood was in that. Was he?
I might have screwed that one up.
It's okay.
Clint Eastwood. Oh, I'm mixing him up with the other one. Robert Redford. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah.
Similar genre, though. No, maybe similar ages. Never mind.
He's from the same generation. Yeah.
What is remorse? According to Joe's book, it's a moral anguish arising from repentance for past misdeeds, a bitter regret for having caused destruction on person or property. And then he's got some synonyms, but I think that definitely remorse is not regret because I'm now in prison. We need to make sure our clients avoid any kind of statements that make it about that's the only reason. The only reason I'm remorseful is because I got caught, kind of thing, like that regret. And I think that's nice where it's moral anguish and bitter regret, but make sure that it's bitter regret for having caused destruction to others, not oneself when we're looking at a parole hearing, because commissioners tend to get a little uppity about that. And also you have present feelings toward the victim and cautioning, admonishing that it's not an intellectual exercise, it's a feeling, emotion, and it includes empathy, it includes understanding victim impact, it includes a whole bunch of stuff, writing letters of apology, expressing the crime in a way that makes the commissioners believe that you truly appreciate the nature and magnitude of what you've done. And I love some of these questions here. These are great for anybody that may listen to the show. You have a ton of questions here, sample questions, which is another reason I think just to get this book alone is a lot of the sample questions that you've included in here for reflection. But let me turn it over to you. Remorse, obviously a really important chapter. Any thoughts on why it's included at this stage of the process? And anything else you wanted to talk about? We don't have our wonderful special guest host, Michael, so he's always got our back on this kind of thing, but we can do it, Joe, without him.
Yeah, you know, this was one of the first chapters I wrote. I was asked about it over at Avenal by somebody, and so I came up with this, and actually, as a as an attorney representing, you know, going to prisons, when we went to prisons more often, it was really hard when there was a victim present and talking about the effect of the crime on them at the hearing. And it was very difficult. I was myself caught up in their emotion, and it was really tough. And I remember like one instance where there was victims next of kin there from a drunk driving incident where the guy's girlfriend or fiance was with him, and he was drunk and he caused an accident, and she was the passenger and got killed. And I remember sitting there. I can't remember whether it was Ironwood or Chuckawalla, but during the middle of the hearing, they were the victims next of kin there was talking, and I remember there were tears streaming down my face, and it was very emotional. And so, I mean, I was remorseful, and I didn't do anything. However, I guess, you know, feeling that, just seeing a human being suffering that way and reliving some of the good moments that she had previously with the victim and their closeness and how she was never going to see her again, it just really struck me. And I think this is one of the most important things that a incarcerated person can do, is to feel some of that pain of what they caused and know that they caused it, and that there's nothing they can do about it anymore. And hopefully these feelings will at some level be a motivation for them to say, hey, I got to change this kind of conduct because I'm destroying lives, pure and simple. And to feel that effect on others, that it should be, you know, literally a come to Jesus moment for them. And just to feel that and to know that they caused that, I think should be kind of the alpha and the omega of programming to change themselves, but also of making amends, to help others, to reach out to others, and to just you know, stop the stupidity of their past lifestyle, whether it be gangs, drugs, sexual deviance, whatever it is. Just to stop it, not only in the prison environment, but then to program and to prepare themselves for a life on the outside, to be one of, you know, actually to be one of service and giving back. And it can never be enough, whatever they give back, never. And then to do whatever they can to make amends. So it's you know, it's a serious thing. Like you brought up, you know, that quote from Clint Eastwood, but that's a very intense moment in that film. You know, because you take away everything they have or everything they're going to be, and not only from them, but from their family, their friends, the community, their coworkers, whatever it is, you've taken it away. And it's, I know they always talk about the ripple effect, but unfortunately, it's so true.
Keep hitting the wrong button. I thought too, yeah, really important point, making amends. And the interesting thing, and I like to know your thoughts on this, if you've ever considered or reflected on this, is the Title 15 factors. They're divided up into whatever they're called, subsection A and subsection B. It's what we used to primarily rely on, which is still the law, but Title 15 has suitability factors and they have unsuitability factors. So they have a list of things that the board can point to in their unsuitability column, or weighing these unsuitability factors against suitability factors. Now, we use these structured decision-making frameworks now, but ultimately the regulations are what governs. And it's interesting.
Yeah, the law hasn't changed despite the SDMF.
And they haven't really, I don't know if I guess they officially promulgated them or whatever, but they just decided to use them. I think as an administrative body, they can probably do that. But I guess I've always thought, the having remorse is under suitability, but there's no not having remorse, not being remorseful is not under the section of unsuitability, the list of unsuitability factors. And I just tried to think about that. And I guess one of the reasons is because it would contradict, Penal Code 5011, which says you don't have to admit guilt to be found suitable for parole. And then Shaputa says, if you're not admitting guilt, obviously, then if you haven't done the crime, you don't have to be remorseful, and you don't have to have insight behind your actions and things like that. So, I just find it interesting. I've always wondered, because sometimes like a DA will say, well, they're not remorseful, so you should find them unsuitable. And I'll always argue, if I hear that, well, technically that would be unlawful, and then unlawful application of the Title 15 factors, because lack of remorse is not a factor of unsuitability. If you have it, it's a factor of suitability. And then you have this other thing where the commissioners say, well, it's too subjective. You really don't know. Well, you can point to objective things. Have you made amends? Amends is a very, I don't want to say complex, but it's a very difficult process. And if you've engaged in any amends process, number one, by participating in 12-step programs, that right there is making amends. Having to do those steps is arduous, I guess. I don't know if that's a very good word, but it's not for the faint of heart. It takes a lot of courage to work through those steps, and that shows amends in addition to all the other ways that you can show amends. And the objective, I think you can point to genuine expression of remorse. Some of my clients, and I caution them, I said, don't bring the waterworks just because someone told you to bring waterworks. If it's genuine, fine, but do not try to do some great acting job on the crying. Just leave the tears, just the notion of it, that it's got to be part of your presentation at the door. If it comes up organically, I'm fine with that. So that would be an objective indicator that you feel bad. And well, also, when are the tears timed? Are you crying when you talk about your childhood being awful and abusive, and not crying when you're talking about having taken someone's life or having harmed someone in a very serious way? That also, sometimes the DAs pick up on that and they go, hey, he's only crying for himself. And that's why I said at the beginning of the show that, be careful on how you express so-called remorse. Or I don't know, my brain is not firing on all cylinders this morning, but hey, I'm trying. And
you're doing great.
And then also, I disagree as well, because the Title 15 says, I disagree with the commissioners sometimes, not the commissioners, but they've had these talks with, Schaefer and other people. It's so hard to tell. Some commissioners will rely on lack of remorse. Some commissioners want remorse. I mean, I won't name names, but I could name a few names. It doesn't really matter. There are some commissioners that really appreciate remorse. And then there's other ones, I don't even hear them talking about. They sometimes ask about victim impact, but if you can give victim impact beyond the buzzwords, just, oh, I financially harmed them, I emotionally harmed them, and whatever. No, but if you could really talk about victim impact on how they were had to be standing over the body and standing there for 6 hours in the rain while the police were there taping everything up, telling you not to go home, or whatever it is, going to the hospital, holding the guy's intestines in while you're driving them to all of that, all the months and weeks and months and years later. And you can really, with specificity and particularity, describe what it's like to walk in the victim's or victim's shoes during the crime and after the crime is, I think, a very objective way to measure remorse. Yeah. Maybe, and it's hard to say those things unless you've really studied them. And why do you study stuff? Because you feel bad and want to make amends. So I think I'm totally with you, Joe, on remorse being so important. I don't know. They keep saying it's not important or it's too subjective, but I disagree. I guess that's my main point. I disagree that it's not important, because I think remorse is also tied to guilt. So you've got guilt is, I did something bad. You've got repentance, acknowledge I've done something bad and I won't do it again. And then you've got shame, and that is, I am inherently bad. I'm inherently evil and I'm unworthy of God's grace. So those are different things too. And I think it's okay as well to add shame in there. I was a bad person. Not only did I do bad, but I was just not inherently bad, because we're all born with God's grace and we just forget that. But we, there are times when, for some of our clients, they did a lot of shameful things. Now, that can also go a long way. Now, some commissioners, if they don't want to grant parole, they're just going to twist all of this around anyway. But, and I'm not saying that I blame them or I hold them, I'm judging them for that, because sometimes they just get a feel for, like Dannenberg, the case of Dannenberg. It's just, you kind of know it when you see it. And sometimes it's hard to put your finger on it, but I've gone all the way around. Hopefully you kept track of some of this stuff. I did ask you a couple questions, and I'd love to hear your point of view on it, on any of what I said, if you can even keep track.
Well, sure. One of the other reasons why this, I think, chapter came about was, and it was a long time ago, I was sitting in a hearing room. Again, I can't remember whether it was Sadaf or Avenal. They all kind of blend together after one point. But the commissioner was giving the decision. In fact, it might have been Kern Valley, wherever it was, it doesn't matter. But I can still remember sitting in that room, and the commissioner, who's no longer a commissioner, she was giving the decision, and she said, something to the effect of, and sir, you didn't express any remorse today. And we looked at each other kind of out of the corner of our eyes. We don't want to just as the commissioner speaking, because she never asked about it. She never raised the question. I don't even think victim impact was spoken about. And here she was getting on him for having no remorse. So I started telling people, hey, if you don't know what to talk about in your closing statement, talk about your feelings about what you did and the victim and the nature and magnitude of the crime. Talk about that in your closing. And then they can't say you're not remorseful. Well, they still could. They can say anything they want, obviously. But But I mean, and again, you made the point, and this was an excellent point you made, Elizabeth, that if you're not feeling it, this is the other side of the coin. If you're not feeling it, don't try to show that you're remorseful. You got to feel it. It's like the music, like playing in a band. You got to not only know the words, you have to have the feeling behind the words. And if you don't have it, then don't even go there, until you do. And another thing too, I'd like to say, in writing a letter of remorse, don't you dare ask for any kind of forgiveness. The victim, they don't owe you shit, okay? You owe them a lot, but they don't owe you anything, so don't ask them for anything. So don't even think about asking them for forgiveness. If they want to forgive you, they will, but you don't even broach that subject. Don't go there.
Don't go there. Yeah. The commissioners will go nuts, as well as you and I.
Yeah.
No, I put that in my letter to my client too. Don't ask for forgiveness. And then I get the letters and they're asking for forgiveness. And I know it's a Christian thing. I see it a lot from my Christian clients more than anybody else, because that is, as we forgive, others will forgive us. But I don't know that it says it anywhere in the New Testament that you ask for it. Maybe you could ask your Lord and Savior first, but not from the victims. Never ask anything from them whatsoever.
Right.
Totally agree.
Yeah. And again, it's a feeling. It's not some intellectual exercise, And I think you either feel it or you don't. But we're talking about it because we're human beings, and this is the effect of what you did. And it's like widespread. It's not just to one person. It's to a whole lot of people. So I think when you say whether it's subjective or objective, that's because it is a feeling, It's not something we can just put our finger on. But if somebody does have remorse, it, by their reaction, by they're showing their feelings. So again, that's why what you said is don't even go there if you don't feel it.
Yeah. The other thing, and remember is that remorse is an aspect of insight. So when you look at Shaputis really describes all of insight. Insight is so much stuff. It's self-awareness, it's the why, it's accountability, it's remorse, it's victim impact, it's character defects, causative factors. Insight is a big topic. So when they say you lack insight, into which aspect? Triggers, coping strategies, awareness of, who you were then, who you are now. It's such a huge thing. And so remorse, I always think remorse is such a big deal because it helps to make those connections between the past actions and a current mindset. And that's what they're really after, because in the past, most of our clients says, I didn't feel bad at all. And so because it's such a huge topic, and then it also, so it helps the panel assess whether you're a different person now than they were at the time of the crime, because lack of empathy is a part of the antisocial personality disordered traits. And that's a big one. Lack of empathy is a big tip off for whether someone has an antisocial personality disorder. And so, it's not an outright disqualifier if you're not sitting there crying the blues, but you definitely want to be coming to this parole hearing with appropriately written letters of apology, a complete understanding of victim awareness. Who are your victims and victim impact? How did you affect their lives? And accountability. And that's why those letters of apology, I always say, can showcase your remorse, meaning accountability plus victim impact for me equals a component of remorse. And, we're there to talk about current risk, current and unreasonable risk. And I think that there might be a little bit of unreasonable or a reasonable risk if you don't have remorse. And you and I both had them, Joe, clients that sit there, not remorseful, very glib.
Mm-hmm.
They can go through the motions, quite narcissistic, in fact. I think narcissism it's a close cousin to antisocial personality disorder, where you lack empathy, you lack insight. So interesting, a component of narcissism and antisocial personality disorder is the lack of self-awareness, superiority, hard to admit fault, all of that stuff. So remorse, for me, you can really look at someone and go, you're a sociopath, you lack empathy for others, and you can only intellectualize your feelings. So I agree. Are you going to keep it in the same spot in your revision, your third edition, second edition?
I haven't thought about that because I'm working on a new book right now, and all that time we were gone, I was able, on Sundays to get into it. So, anyways, besides that,
good. Okay.
I'm sorry I got off the topic of remorse, though. But
I don't care. It's fine.
No.
Wait, you got the one for the females, the strategies for females?
No. It's for both genders.
Okay. I thought for some reason you were working on one or maybe making it more inclusive, but this is a totally separate book.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And we can still revise 36 strategies, but I am working on a different book right now.
Okay. Is it a parole related book or something different?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I think I've asked you that. Now I just don't remember.
It's okay.
Just keep me in suspense then. It's okay.
Say again?
I said, keep me in suspense. It's good.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
When
are you going to be done with that?
Excuse me?
Go ahead.
No, I was just going back to remorse.
Good.
I want to think of it like this. As you develop remorse, you're becoming more human. Think of when somebody committed the crime, if they were cold and callous. I like to make an analogy to like an AI security robot who protects your property. They don't have feelings. They just act on whatever their prompts are, whatever they're supposed to do. And they don't care. An AI robot does not care whether, it's a human being, a dog, or whatever. They're just protecting the property. And the human component is out of it. Of course, more advanced AIs might have feelings, but I don't want to go there yet. That'll come. But for now, and for purposes of the example, that's what the person basically was at the time of the crime, at least in the eyes of the community and etc. They had little or no care for other humans. They had some other agenda in mind. But becoming more human is developing those feelings, saying, hey, look what I did. Oh my gosh, that was a human being. They had a mom, a dad, a brother, a sister. And then putting themselves in their shoes and saying, oh my God, they're never going to be back for their birthdays, weddings, graduations, anniversaries. And then being overwhelmed by that because they caused that. So it's going from like 0 to 10 on the scale of feelings and, like you said, self-awareness, realization. And I don't know. I think that is something, whether it's in the law or not, doesn't matter. It's about becoming human and about changing and never doing anything like that ever again, if you're lucky enough to get out. So that's my 2 cents. I'll get off my soapbox.
I think it's fantastic. Yeah, that's exactly it. That's exactly it. Before, I thought your analogy was really good. You're just acting on that primal reptilian brain. You have no awareness here of the front part that could come in, that executive functioning maybe is what they call it. I might not have the terms right, but that can come in and go, "Ooh, wait, intercept that old programming," and that programming for a lot of our clients too was survival strategies. We all have it. 80, they say maybe up to 95% of people had some version of a dysfunctional childhood on whatever spectrum it's on. And then, some people say, and the other 5% just don't admit it. But
exactly.
So we're all acting, we all act from all that programming. And they're saying it's programming from up to 26 years of age. And so think of how much we compound. So we pick up these survival strategies up to 7 years old, additional ones from 12, but the ones up to 7 are really, really entrenched back there. So it's much harder to overcome. And then you pick up more and more and more, and then you keep. So the 7-year-old strategies compound and it kind of snowballs. So until you get intercepted in that, you are going to react. You're going to react. And some people call it reacting versus responding. So just, respond versus awareness, and that remorse can really be helpful in playing a role to overcome our reptile amygdala, hippocampus reactions that I don't know scientifically a whole lot about. I just know that once you start to do the work, once our clients start to do the work, they realize that they can rely on this more. And this is the triggers. This is the coping strategies. I mean, that's what they are being taught, or they should be learning if they are internalizing the program. So we do not know Michael, but we did pretty good on our own for 2 old folks figuring this stuff out. And having done this I think Joe's done this for 15 years.
You've been doing it quite a long too, Elizabeth, probably for almost that amount of time.
I've been doing it only 10 years. You were 6 years ahead of me. Yep. Okay. That's crazy. Crazy how the time flies, but
it
does take 10 years to sort of get a handle on it. Oh, here he comes. He's popping in.
Hey.
Let's see what he's got to say for himself. And then we'll sign off and let you get back to your book writing. When are you going to get done with that thing, Joe?
You know what? I'm not, the short answer is I'm not sure. Hopefully like in 2 months.
Okay. Not in 2 years, but you're hoping a few months.
I've been getting impatient. Okay. And so I just have to learn to like hang tight and make this the best I can. I'm not going to like rush anything. So I thought I was getting close to the end, but going back and rereading it, and I don't want to put it out there till it's just right,
Yeah. Looks like he's having trouble connecting. So
you only have one chance to make a good first impression.
Understood. Well, you're a multi-book author now.
Well, no, not yet. It's not done yet.
Getting there. He cannot get signed on. So we'll sign off for now. It looks like next week is a topic, insight. What is it? Finding it and communicating it. They call it self-awareness now. That's fine. That'll be part of your reason for revisions, which will be great. That insight, it's tricky. It's really tricky. So why don't we just sign off? It looks like he's just spinning and not being able to connect, and we'll try to hopefully catch up with him next week. It was really great seeing you, Joe. I like this little bit of community that we have together. It's important for humans to interact with each other, and you and I live quite isolated, work quite isolated at times.
Very good. Okay. Hey, have a great week, and see you next week.
Touch base anytime.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.